everybody. I'm Dwayne,
And I'm Tom.
and this is,
Our recovery life.
well, quarantine day 100, 200. I don't know.
I lost track myself. I don't have that many fingers.
We're still locked down in the bunker, and today's topic is,
Today's topic is going to be moving on from the past.
you
Getting rid
know,
of the old skeletons in the closet, sure should you say.
yeah, the one thing I got to say about the past, man, is that great topic just because it defined who I was for so long that I think there was a point in my recovery that I started doing the steps and started growing, and there was a fear that, who am I really? Because I had associated with my past so much, and especially right away when I got out of prison, because all I'd ever known was the streets and the life that I'd lived. Like, I really didn't know. Like, I could change people, places, and things, but I always kept my shell of who I thought I was. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, being this big, rough, tough, grumbly person, that the persona that I kept trying to be, I would end up back with the people, places, and things no matter where I go. From Minnesota to Texas, I kept moving, and I kept following, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when I finally decided to really do this recovery thing, there was a mourning period and a fear of, who am I now? Like, I know I'm not that person, but you know, I struggled with letting go of that, because there was a mourning period that, who am I then?
Right. No, that makes sense. I when I was you know, using and stuff, I was kind of had that people pleaser thing going on.
Oh, sure.
Um, well, you stop by my house, from time to time. But, when people came over, I was like, I felt like I had to entertain, I was always like, oh, is everybody okay? Everybody got stuff. Everybody are you having fun? Is it, it was like, it was my responsibility to make sure that everybody was having a good time. And moving on from that, I still like to make sure everybody's, got what they need and having a good time in a whole different way. But sometimes I have to, watch out and make sure I'm not doing things just to please people. You know what I mean? So that's one thing for me to move on from. The other is the some of the shadow that I left, behind that keeps
Yeah.
creeping up on me. Um, coming up on 8 years clean here, and I wasn't really worried about filling out papers anymore. Like when you first get clean, you're like, oh yeah, and have you ever used drugs? And oh, I'm not getting the job or the loan or the whatever. So I was like, all right, crystal clear, whatever. And Melinda and I were sitting down and setting up life insurance for everybody. And like, have you used drugs in the last 10 years? And we're like, oh, I thought we were done with this. Signing doctor releases and waiting for, instead of the, oh yeah, you're good to go, like a lot of the other things are for us now. This one was like, oh, we got to check, we got to send it to underwriters, we need to check with your, like doctor history and, all that other stuff. So it was a good, a good reminder that, that stuff's still there.
Yeah.
And it can come back every once in a while, but, the longer we go, the less it comes back. But it was a good reminder that, you still got to, move on from that. But instead of, 2 years in, like, I'll never get a loan, I'll never get a place to live, I'll never, it was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, 2 more years, it will be 10 years. And then we'll try it again. But it's not that big a deal anymore, because I've learned to accept that some things that I did in the past are, they're there. I can't get rid of them and I have to move on. So that's helped me a lot mentally, getting over that, because it took a while. There's still things I think back, and I'm like, Ooh. I actually have a picture of my mom's car on my phone that she bought when she got out of college. And if you remember, I had that car in my garage
I remember.
and I lost that car. And every once in a while, you know, as much as I try and let go of that one, that for some reason that one's, you know, creeps up on me. I got a pretty good handle on it now, but oh boy, every once in a while I want to kick myself for that. But nothing I can do now.
You know, I agree. Every now and then there's a few things that creep up on me, whether it be, um, you know, a big thing for me is that my persona, you know, of if I feel someone's not respecting me or something like that, I get very, very angry and very frustrated. And um, I feel like a lot of the old me starts kind of rearing its head. And, you know, and that's something that I always struggle with is that, you know, I have to play the tape out, and that's not who I was. That's who I was trying to be. And that's why it was so much
Right.
hard work. You know, I'm today I'm a loving, caring, kind person, you know, and you know, I can really relate to what you were talking about. I've been filling out um, and started the process of trying to get a house and be pre-approved, and they need a lot of back
Yeah.
W-2s and all of that stuff. Um, and most people just go to your tax guy. Well, I never picked the same tax person. It's TurboTax, this, that, all over the place. Um, and so having to round that stuff up and the long list of stuff they give that you need to get,
Yeah.
you know, I think most normies probably have that stuff sitting around where it took me a while to get it, and it seemed very exhausting, and I was very um like, God, adults do this all the time.
Who are
and
adults?
and real adults, yeah, real adults do this all the time, and they just have a drawer where they go brr, and they pull it out, and here's all that stuff. But you know what I got from this last 2 weeks ago getting all that stuff? I just did one thing at a time. Like I kept hearing my sponsor and his wife talk in my in my head, saying just one at a time. Like, don't worry about 10, don't look at all these, just what's number one on the list, you know. And I just kind of plugged away at it, and then went back in my workday, came back and plugged away one. And to anyone out there struggling right now with this whole pandemic thing, and we can't touch and we can't hug, and you know, one day at a time, just one day at a time, one thing at a time. You know, we're almost there. Where meetings are going to start popping up again. Um, we're almost there. You know, and so that's helped me out immensely this week. Is, you know, I finally sent it all in to the person. And another thing was funny is I texted him and said, "Okay, did you get it all?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem. You know, yep, got it all." And so about an hour later, I found myself on my phone. I kept having to delete, like, well, what's the answer?
Yeah.
Because I did my part. Now I want it now, and that's my old past. You know, that's the, you know, I was nice to you once. Now I need a complete. You know, I need what I wanted, and
Right.
so I had to wait a couple of days, and he finally gave me an answer, and it was awesome. It was great news, and I got a sheet of paper saying go buy a house, and I was just that's
Nice.
still that's still crazy to me, but that was a huge step forward and breaking free from my past, that I don't have to be a renter. I don't have to be checking that box that I'm a felon every time, you know, I go to try to rent a place, because I was dreading that again, because I hate checking that box. I
Right.
hate it. And then, you know, you give them $25 and they tell you, sorry, you know, you can't live here. Whereas, you know, 2 days before they're saying you'd be perfect here. You turn in, you know,
Right.
we
Right.
love you. And then they see that you're a felon and they just judge you. And so big steps forward for me. And that's a part of letting go of the past. But I think with this week, you know, the big part of the topic is letting go. You know, you
Right.
put
Moving
it
on.
as far as you pull it and carry it. And I lived in my past way past its expiration date. And to anyone watching right now, I strongly suggest, try to start living the new you and let go of the old you. And that's people, places, and things, and whatever it happens to be. Man, the past needs to be in the past. And every now and then it's good to look at a phone, a car on a phone, just to remind yourself. But like you said, you rein that in right away, that you don't live there.
Right. Well, the one thing you just mentioned, that the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
like when you just said what you just said, I thought back, like when I got my first personal loan, or when I got like approved for a credit card, or I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let's sign whatever we have to sign and move on before they realize they just gave me a whole bunch of money. It's like they don't know what they just did. Like,
Yeah.
I was still holding on to that. I didn't earn this. I didn't feel like, imposter syndrome. Like, felt like that I did something wrong, or look at the bank account and go, oh, have that feeling like I shouldn't have this. And but I've learned to let that go as well. But I remember early on some of those things. Melinda and I would look at each other like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Like getting the keys to a meeting. It's like, what?
I think it's all about letting go of that old identity. Really, it's about identity. And my identity was the past. Anywhere I go, when I was out on the streets, people wanted to know who you knew, who you did, who you hung around with, what you did. Like, we were linked to our past, whereas today I'm not. I have a new identity, and it's we've worked hard to have those identities in recovery, and it's strange when people treat me like a respectful adult. Every now and then hey, you want me to make a decision here?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. But I think it just goes to show, the longer you're in recovery and the more work you do, the more steps you take forward from, and I think that's why working the steps with a mentor or sponsor or something is so big, because I think those help you move forward, and not the 2 steps forward, 4 back that
Right.
happens a lot, and I did that a lot before I really started working the steps. So, we're almost to the finish line, guys. We love you, and we love your comments and all the things that you guys have, all the shares, the subscriptions, YouTube. That's all really, really needed. And we're our Facebook, Our Recovery Life, has really gotten up there, and we're really thankful for you guys, and we're gonna get through this. And on that note, fight the good fight.
Yeah, keep it clean.